Good morning, everybody. You know you've had enough coffee when the teeth start chattering. Oof. Great to see everybody as we commemorate UFC Vegas 100. Interesting fight card. Only 11 fights on the card. And what I've noticed is you have a lot of grizzled vets competing. You also have fighters who have shown us that they're capable of breaking. Sometimes you write checks that your body can't cash. And although the mind is strong, the body does give out. There's only so much the human body can take as far as punishment goes inside of the octagon. And some fighters don't necessarily have the durability that some others do. If you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe and like button as we break down this card, that'll be a big help as we march forward. Let's get things started with the bantamweight division of the ladies, where we saw Melissa Mullins miss weight for the second consecutive time. If you can't make 135 pounds or 136 pounds, what are we doing here? Why is this? Why is she rostered? Melissa Mullins, coming over from England, right? She's a fighter who is sitting at minus 298, and she's taking on Claudia Sahula, who is coming in at plus 240 at the betting window. You saw Melissa Mullins missed weight, looked horrible on the scales. Yes, she does have a win in the UFC. Coming off of a finish loss, though, the wrestling's there. The stick-to-itiveness is there, but I'm concerned about this weight cut. She did not look good. The body language was horrible. And low-level women's mixed martial arts. That's what we're watching here to open the card. Sahula, not much home to write about as well. Questionable victories, questionable level of competition. At least Melissa Mullins, we've shown she can go to the well from a grappling perspective, and I think that extra weight could potentially be helpful. Here I'll be picking Melissa Mullins, but there's no way in hell I'm laying minus 300 on her in this matchup. Next up, we have Tresean Gore taking on Antonio Tricoli. Tricoli coming in as the plus 150 underdog. He's a seasoned veteran, has a significant size advantage. And you have Tresean Gore, who I believe is only 4-2 as a professional, incredibly raw, but 30 years of age. This is a fighter who has shown us on the grandest of stages that there are some major blind spots in his game. He's not the biggest fighter for the division, seems to be very stubborn, but what he does bring to the table is violent, vicious finishes. And as I watch this fight unfold in my mind's eye, I see the aggressiveness and the violent nature of Tresean Gore taking hold, especially inside of the smaller octagon. Yes, Tresean Gore can make some big-time mistakes, and who's the much more technically sound fighter? That would be Antonio Tricoli, but I'm going to be picking Tresean Gore and to win by devastating knockout. Now, let's take a brief look in the chat here. Good morning. Good morning, Chris. Liam, thank you for the support as always. Evan, good morning to you, sir. Great to have you here. We have a large contingency of support in the building. Thank you. Thank you, Donnie. Lou, you're here. Thank you. Good morning. I hope the coffee's flowing this morning as we march our way through this card. And by the way, you want to talk about some wide lines in this realm? Cody Stamann taking on Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear coming off of consecutive losses here, but I mean, you could say the Mario Bautista fight, he arguably won that fight. And Cody Stamann, one of the more talented fighters at bantamweight. This is a guy who's fought the cream of the crop many times. And the Dvalishvili fight, there have been many others where he's shown what he's capable of. The challenge I have for Cody Stamann here is that cut down 135 pounds. It was getting rougher and rougher the older he got. He's complained about it many times, but he made the weight here without issue, and he's taking on a Deon Blackshear. Stamann back against the wall. Las Vegas based fighter nowadays, in Cody Stamann, who has the grappling pedigree to cause just about any bantamweight problems. The problem I have for Cody Stamann, he's got such a short reach. I believe only 64.5-inch reach, if I'm not mistaken. And the motor of Cody Stamann for 15 minutes, can he really push at his age? We've seen him come up short in some controversial decisions. And Deon Blackshear on his side of the fight, aggressive, explosive fighter who has a massive reach advantage here, can wrestle. I do believe Cody Stamann is the better wrestler, though. This is a very closely lined fight in my mind. Am I going to go out of my way to back Cody Stamann in this spot? I could see him winning this fight. I really could. I could see it happening a few different ways. But I think the younger, hungrier fighter, Blackshear, with the physical attributes that he has, he's the rightful favorite. I wouldn't be touching him in the minus 260s. I think that's crazy, that line. Give me Blackshear, but Cody Stamann is very live in this fight. Now, this is a fight. When I watch the weigh-ins, and you want to talk about getting the juices flowing, the Charles Radke, Matt Semmelsberger fight is one that I had on my fridge. Matt Semmelsberger, the Jedi who can strike, can land a 1-2, has shown an inability to finish his food. He will land with power and with conviction, but after he's winning, and while he's winning, he'll make some catastrophic errors during his fights, gets taken down, gets held on the bottom for extended periods of time. You watch the fights slip away from him. This is a talented kid. I believe he played football at Marist, if I'm not mistaken. And Radke is a gritty, tough fighter who will stick to you like glue and will fight until the final bell. Very hard to finish Radke. This is going to turn into a dogfight, I believe. And I remember the Chaos Williams fight where Semmelsberger spoke about his fears and knowing that he's going to enter a place where he could potentially get finished and he could eat a fight-ending strike, and he was willing to take that risk. And I'm willing to take a risk and pick the underdog here, Matt Semmelsberger, to walk away victorious. I think there's just too much talent on the feet from a striking perspective. I know the ground game isn't there for Semmelsberger. We've seen him held on the bottom against lesser fighters. But I think that he's going to find the target, and this fight is going to end up becoming a war. And this is one of my most favorite fights on the card to watch on the docket here. If you tune in for this fight, the Semmelsberger Radke fight. I think we're going to be in for some fireworks, and I'm going to be picking the underdog, Matt Semmelsberger, to walk away victorious. Now, Celski dos Santos against Zack Scoggins. Reminds me of a name. Some folks may remember the name Justin Scoggins, by the way, a highly touted flyweight fighter who went by the way of Ryzen and faltered. Man, Justin Scoggins could have been what could have been. But here we are, back reality. We've got Alessio Zaleski dos Santos coming in as a minus 800 betting favorite. And you want to talk about wide lines? I posed a tweet earlier in the week that received a lot of responses, and it was, what type of qualities do you like to see in a minus 800 fighter? And there are a ton of attributes you'd like to see. Overcoming adversity when when there's a worst case scenario, can they survive that? Can they come back? Have they shown an ability, some resiliency, um, a huge fight IQ discrepancy, um, a chin, a pace, a gas tank? And Dos Santos checks off some of those boxes, but he also is coming in against an undefeated short notice replacement who missed weight, Zack Scoggins, who has had success on the regional scene and is a finisher. So I'm not going to be laying minus 800 here, but I will say that you have to look at both sides of the fight here too, because Zaleski dos Santos has minimal time to prepare for an opponent. And what's dangerous is the punches that you don't see coming, the things that you haven't prepared for. The 1-2s, the 3-strike combinations, the double spinning back fist that we saw from Shara Bullet. How do you prepare for something like that? And Scoggins is a bit of a wild card out here. I have to pick Dos Santos, but I'm no way in hell laying minus 800 or parlaying Dos Santos as a massive heavy favorite. Dos Santos has a lot of miles on his odometer, and I see this fight ending inside the distance. I don't see the gas tank on Scoggins holding up here. So give me Dos Santos inside the distance, but I wouldn't be surprised with either fighter getting KO'd. Now, this fight, I watched the weigh-ins. I watched the lead up to this fight, and you have a service merchandise version of Larissa Pacheco in Denise Gomes. What's going on here? What is happening with Denise Gomes? I'm not sure if she's taking the vitamins that Larissa Pacheco has been taking, but you see the transformation in action here, and she's taking on Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who is a elder statesman of the women's fight game, someone who's fought the who's who. You remember her taking on Joanna, former champion at MSG. By the way, there's a card coming up soon at MSG. I want to send some positive vibes out there into the world. Hopefully, we'll see at some point Tom Aspinall stepping in to face John Jones. You never know what's going to happen on fight week. By the way, don't want to get off on a tangent here, but John Jones he doesn't want to tarnish his legacy. And that Miocic fight is potentially a cakewalk for him at this state in his fight game. And the Aspinall fight is a much, much bigger challenge. I don't know how the UFC is letting him get away with this and pick his spots. Maybe it was contingent upon this was the only fight he was going to take, but this is ridiculous at this stage in the game. But let's get back to the fight card right here. Denise Gomes, who is a minus 500 favorite. You want to talk about a wide line, but also Karolina Kowalkiewicz. How much tread life does she have left in her fight game? And she's taking on a physical fighter in Denise Gomes, who Gomes has been shown the door in the past. So I can't trust Gomes. I will pick her to win. I'm not playing her as a minus 500 favorite. I do believe that Gomes is going to get the finish here. I think the physicality, the Larissa Pacheco vibes that she's throwing out there may be just too much for Karolina Kowalkiewicz at this point. The testosterone looks like it's flowing on the Gomes side, and that may be just a little too much here. I'll be picking Denise Gomes to win. And KK, lots of respect for what you've done for the sport. I believe this might be the last time we see her inside of the octagon. Now, you want to talk about writing checks that your body can't cash. The Dusco Todorovic side is it's sad because Todorovic is a skilled, technically sound fighter, but he does not move his head off of the center line. We've seen it time and time again. And I am concerned about the knee injuries that he's coming off of. And he's taking on a Mansour Abdul Malik, who is coming in as a massive favorite. long story short, I think that Mansour, Abdul, Malik will get this finish inside the distance, end this fight via TKO victory. Take a look at that prop rather than playing the money line. Abdul, Malik, yet to prove it at the UFC level. Yes, competed in the Apex, right, for the Contender Series, but it's a different vibe when these go on your official record and you're in the UFC competing under the bright lights. And in this spot, Dusco Todorovic, highly skilled. Remember, he had to back out of a fight recently due to a knee injury after also the Duncan fight. Man, that was brutal. That was brutal. So give me Mansour Abdul Malik to win, and to win so in devastating fashion. Good morning. Nice bacon, egg, and cheese. You ready to rock down in Oceanside? All right, great. Hey, yeah, hit up Jones Beach when you have the chance. Get out on the open water. Robert Moses Beach as well. By the way, I'd look to hopefully someday soon be meeting up with everyone at the International MMA Bettors Retreat. Apparently, we were hoping to host it in Malta, and that's still on the docket, looking to hopefully secure some hotels for that one. By the way, Jillian Robertson taking on Luana Pinheiro. You want to talk about fighters who have shown a propensity to break inside the octagon? We've seen Todorovic do it. We've seen other fighters. We'll talk about Neil Magny later. Luana Pinheiro, man, coming off of a situation where she's been finished multiple times recently, and she's taking on a killer in Jillian Robertson who knows how to fight to her strengths. And that's a key here. The Randa Marcos matchup, you saw Pinheiro check out of that fight. That was a disturbing trend of events. And you've seen it time and time again where a fighter, they face adversity and then they check out. And Pinheiro, or at least she's Mateus Nicolau's significant other. Mateus Nicolau has been cut from the UFC, a talented flyweight. And you have to wonder where everybody's head is at here. Pinheiro back against the wall. Robertson, the stare downs, the face-offs, she was giving that smirk and got right in the face of Pinheiro. This line has ballooned out. Robertson, yes, does not have the striking to compete with many fighters at this weight class, but she does have the grappling and she has the jiu-jitsu and she has the top game that should potentially cause Luana Pinheiro some serious issues. I think that Robertson's going to get the finish inside the distance. It's just a matter of where do you want to go with this? Do you want to the value is on the TKO side, but do you want to be holding that TKO ticket or that submission ticket? I think that's a much more highly probable outcome that she wins this fight via submission. So take a look at Robertson inside the distance. I think that's the safer play. I don't think this fight's going to end up going 3 rounds. I think that the pace is going to be pushed early and often. And that's what I like about Robertson. She doesn't waste her time. She goes right in for the kill. And that's likely what's going to happen here. So give me Robertson inside the distance in that matchup. Now, this is a fight that is interesting. I was toying with making a play on this fight, and I still may. I'm working my way through this breakdown, and we'll see how we come out the other side. Gaston Bolaños taking on Cortavious Romeos. Romeos is now sitting in the minus 220s at the betting window, and he is facing a grizzled veteran in Gaston Bolaños, who was brutally finished by Magny in his last fight. And we've seen Gaston Bolaños win over Aaron Phillipson. That doesn't do much for me. But Cortavious Romeos, undersized fighter at 135 pounds, wild fighter, will put himself in harm's way like we've seen in the past. Had a path to victory on the Contender Series in his first stint with the Contender Series and ended up getting brutally knocked out. Can you trust someone at this odds to fight to their strengths? They weren't capable of doing it when it mattered, and they got a second opportunity. Dana White loved the performance from Romeos, loves the athletic prowess of Romeos. He's a very exciting fighter, I'll say that, but there's some risk involved. And is the athletic prowess and the aggressiveness, and also he's a dangerous finisher too on the mat. Romeos, is that going to be enough for Bolaños, who is in his early 30s, has a significant size advantage? I'll be picking Romeos here. I think that the UFC did bring him in here to win this matchup, and it's just a matter of, does he finish? We've seen Romeos get pushed and extended in fights before. I don't think Bolaños is going to be able to hold up physically, and that's a theme here throughout this card. I think that we are going to see a tremendous amount of finishes on this card. We haven't seen it much this year, and this is the 100th event, 100th fight night in the UFC Apex. So cheers. Bye, everybody. Put their cups up in the air. Let's have a moment here. By the way, would anybody like to see Big Pretty on the broadcast? You want me to go grab Big Pretty before we discuss the Renier de Ritter versus GM3 fight? Let me go get Big Pretty. Hold your horses, folks. We've got a special guest. Oh, here she is. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is what it's all about, my friends. She's live and in color. Big Pretty is here with us. Say good morning. Thank you for the respect, as always. Big fight card tonight, Big Pretty. Are you ready? You ready, girl? Excellent. Excellent. All right. Have a great morning. I'll see you later. Thank you, everyone. There she is in all of her glory. I told you she would make an appearance on the card. Let's see. Oh, Big Pretty is here. Yes. And I'd love to bring her to the fights. Maybe I'll bring her to MSG. We can get her in as some sort of emotional support animal for one of the fighters. Where's Rose and Namajunas competing? We can get Big Pretty to get back in there. All right. Maybe she can walk one of the fighters to the octagon. So let's talk co-main event of the evening. Renier de Ritter, who comes to the UFC with a lot of hype. When I watch Ritter fight, he reminds me of one of the Delcas brothers. And he is a grappler by trade who is facing a GM3 who's shown he can spoil the party. He's the potty poopa. If you've watched Kindergarten Cop, you'll remember Arnold Schwarzenegger say the potty poopa. GM3 could spoil this debut for Ritter. I don't trust Ritter's gas tank, especially when you talk about the octagon jitters. You're not going to be having a huge crowd to drown out the noise. You could hear the heavy breathing. I know you probably heard Big Pretty with her heavy breathing earlier. She's a little over 10 years old. And Ritter, the gas tank may get tested if GM3 is able to survive and make it to the later rounds here. He is going to become live. He's a very talented grappler, Mearshart. Ritter, yes, should have packed on a significant amount of weight after the weigh-ins. Man, I'm going to be picking the underdog GM3 here. I don't trust Ritter. GM3 will fight free. He has no pressure on him. He's expected to lose, just like he's been expected to lose many, many times in the past. And show me something, Ritter. I want to see what you're made of on the grandest of stages inside of the Apex. But I'm not going to be picking Ritter. I know that might be a surprise here. I also think that this fight ends up finishing. I see in my mind's eye, I see a fighter gassing out late in the second round. And that's where I believe the finish will take place. Let's see. Fight doesn't go the distance. Yes. Yeah. We've seen him have quit. Granted, it was at a different weight class, but when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay. It doesn't matter what weight class. You want to see people fight tooth and nail until the bitter end. And we've seen Ritter, sometimes he isn't capable of doing that. And hey, let's look at both sides of the fight, right? GM3 has been shown a propensity to quit early and often too. And he's had his lights turned off by who though? Chimaev took him out real quick. We've seen other fighters over the course of his career take him out. By the way, before we get to the main event, a matchup that I really am looking forward to at MSG is Carolina Chris Weidman taking on Eric Anders. What great matchmaking by the UFC in that regard. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel and liking the video, that'll be a big help for us. We've been at this for many years. Third-party tracked 6 consecutive winning years. Huge event last week. And the thing is, you got to play the spots that you have conviction in, and one fight at a time, and everything in moderation. That's my motto. Carlos Prates taking on Neil Magny, main event of the evening. We've made it. We're going to close in on about 30 minutes here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You have a -750 betting favorite who openly smokes cigarettes and will take massive risks in fights. A fighter who has been finished 5 separate times. I believe his record's 20-6. He's been finished 5 times. And he's scheduled to fight for 5 rounds inside the octagon against Neil Magny, who has, you've seen the equilibrium get thrown off during fights against D-Rod and others. He's been in fights where he's faced some dangerous southpaw strikers. And he will come out the other side victorious on occasion. You saw Carlos Prates mean mugging Neil Magny at the face-offs. The fight nerds, that is something that must be taken into account as far as fight IQ goes. Carlos Prates, what has he done at the UFC level to deserve this praise? Li Jingliang, we saw come in off of a catastrophic injury, multiple year layoff, and was pieced apart against Carlos Prates. And you had Dana White singing the praises of Carlos Prates. I see what they're trying to do here. They want finishers in there. Man, we've seen it with so many fighters recently where they will be given a step up in competition and then will fall short. And is this going to be one of those spots? Because we've saw it against Mike Malott. Neil Magny, if he's able to survive and if he's able to close distance and make this fight ugly, he could come out the other side victorious. If you're holding a Magny round 3, round 4, round 5 ticket, that could potentially hold some serious value, but is he going to get there? This is a situation where, I mean, the Prates inside the distance line is absurd. Even the fight doesn't go the distance is minus 800, I believe, last time I checked. So this is a show me something spot for Carlos Prates, and he's going to have to take Magny out of there. There is a threat of the unknown here. It's like you're swimming out into a deep ocean. Do you want to finish your swim after a couple of 100 yards and then turn your way back to the shoreline, or do you want to go out into the deep abyss and test your gas tank, test your resolve? I don't think Prates is capable of doing that against Magny here. He's going to have to get him out of there early. And yeah, I think that there's a higher likelihood that he does finish this fight than Magny coming out the other side victorious. I will be picking Prates to win inside the distance, but I'm going to be rooting for Neil Magny here. I hope that Magny wins this fight. I don't trust Prates. What do you guys think? How has this breakdown gone so far? If you've enjoyed the breakdown, give it a like, give it a subscription, and look at this. Fighting Nerds took an L yesterday. Dude got boinked at LFA. Well, yeah, you know what? They take risks. Unless you're Caio Borralho, then you fight to your strengths. By the way, Caio Borralho, incredible fighter who has probably the brightest future at that gym. You parlayed Prates 2-3 with Robertson. Okay. I hope that works out for you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Remember to go get what's yours. And let's do this, my brothers. One fight at a time. We're at 31 minutes. Cheers, everybody. Appreciate you, Evan. Thank you. Have a great day, my friends.